Welcome to Under the Magnifier, where two legally blind people discuss our favorite books, shows, and movies. This is episode 1, and Darkoden is going to be introducing us to Lourna Dee, a badass Star Wars character from his current book series. There will be spoilers for Lourna Dee's character backstory, the Rising Storm book, and the Lost Stars, which is a book we mention and describe a few scenes from. Hope you enjoy our first episode, and sorry for the babies in the background.
So I don't know how you want to start this. We could do you want me to do an intro for you or something? Or you just want to go and we figure out intro later?
Yeah, you can do a little temporary, a little intro or something if you want.
Yeah, we got we're the Darkoden book club.
Yeah.
Where a Star Wars nerd introduces a Star Wars. I know Star Wars. I don't know everything about Star Wars. Definitely not the extended universe. There's too much Star Wars. I don't know if anybody knows everything about Star Wars, right?
Yeah, there's so much. I do mainly the novels and the books and a lot of the little short stories, some of the young ones and the older ones. But I don't do a lot of the comic books, so I miss some of it. But I think I get the majority of it from the main books and all.
Yeah, and I mean, the books you're reading, so the one that, we want to talk about a character. Do you want to mention the book you're reading right now that she's in?
Yeah, I can mention it. It's The Rising Storm, which is pretty much where the Nihil are going on their big offensive. But there's two other books before that one that builds up to it. This one's pretty much where the Nihil are out there and they're an enemy of the Republic, and the Republic have pretty much, instead of them being, they're a gang of pirates, no, now they are a real threat. They caused a lot of damage.
Are these one of the, because I know you did some of the Scholastic books. Are these the teen ones, or is this the regular adult novels that are just in the extended universe?
Oh no, this one is an adult one. This is the adult novel. There are characters in the adult novels, though, I believe it's Belle Zenithar and Zenestra Rowe, which they show up in a lot of the young adult novels, but they pop up in here too. But you get a lot more of the broader story if you read both, which is why I do both the young and the adult ones. Because you get Zenestra Rowe will pop up in this book, and you get a little bit of her story with her master, which is one of the main characters, Stellan Geos. And she doesn't, you don't get a whole lot of backstory in the adult one, but if you go to the young adult book where she's in it, you get a lot more of her backstory and her relationship with her master, and it gives you a lot more information. You get a better picture of the whole galaxy.
Yeah, the novels are really cool like that. That's one of the things that interests me about a lot of the ones you talk about, is they're so interconnected that you can jump on wherever you want. But if you find a character you really like, you can find more stuff about them, usually.
Yeah, you can find it. Yeah, I really like the way they interconnect their stories. It's better than most that I've read. Better than most other sci-fi fantasy that I've read. Because you can almost get into it.
Yeah, they have such a deep and rich lore, too, because they have so much already fleshed out. They have so much to play with.
Yeah. And you get really,
inventive.
I'm not trying to look for the word. You get really invested. You get really invested in the characters. These, unlike some of the older Star Wars books, these will bring you to tears sometimes.
No.
It's just oh my goodness, are they gonna make it?
Like the last series you read, that was because Lourna Dee's the one we're gonna talk about. But the Romeo and Juliet-esque one that you had just read, that one was I remember you were so invested in that one too.
That sucker almost made me tear up. Well, it did once towards the end, but it almost did multiple times during that story. Because it is such a Romeo and Juliet. It's all about Imperials, and it makes you want to cry for the Imperials and laugh and cheer for them when they come back together, and it's they're together again, and then it's, oh no, they gotta separate because he's a fugitive, and they're gonna catch him, and he just gets away again by her protecting him at the risk of her own life, but then, she somehow covers it up. Yeah. And they're able to keep going on, one in Imperial, and the other a now well, I guess you could call him a fugitive, but it's more like military. He was in the military, but he's not anymore.
Yeah. He's kind of like, because I can't remember, like I don't remember where in the timeline that book fits, but he's kind of like rebel. But I think this is like pre.
Yeah, that one is more
Rebel,
new.
sort of?
Yeah, that one's like Darth Vader times Empire, because she actually winds up being on his ship, assigned to the Death Star, but he winds up leaving the Death Star on a mission to go try to take out the rebel base that's supposed to be on Tatooine. That Leia says, like in the movie, she's like, the rebel base is on Tatooine, trying to trick Tarkin.
Yeah.
And he gets sent there, and that's how he winds up surviving in the story.
But yes, we will have to talk about the Romeo and Juliet one, because I know that one was really good. But you wanted to talk about Lourna Dee, right?
Lourna Dee. Yeah. Oh my goodness. This
Badass
woman.
bad guy.
Ooh, badass bad guy. Bad guy you want to love. But she is
Right?
just, she
And
is the
personally-
toughest thing, and she's real quiet. Just a little bit of background about her I guess
I know
her
you said
temperament
she
and all.
was Twi'lek, right?
Yeah, she's Twi'lek, and she is, I believe she has scarred Lucas. I believe they described in one part, but she's like really an inward kind of person. She doesn't talk. She's real quiet. She's almost like a spy, kind of. Her whole Tempest is like, each one of the Tempests are geared around a certain tactic, I guess you could say. Her Tempest is all backstabbing, sly, quiet, sneaky, poison you kind of thing. And Pan Ada, the other Tempest runner, he is more of tactical. Like, they try to think of their plans a lot more and stuff, and go into it with a solid plan, a solid battle strategy. And then there's another guy who he lasts through, I think he's in the first, or he's in the second book. The first book, the Nihil aren't really a whole lot in. The second one, he's in it a lot, and it's Kosov. And he's more of the take a lot of drugs, get his guys all frantic, and then just berserk, go at them and take them out. But he doesn't last. Ro winds up sacrificing him, and Lourna kind of sees that, and I think that's where she starts to really cozy up to Ro, because you can kind of see through the story that Lourna, the Tempest runners are all together as a unit, and Ro is like the eye, the leader, but he has the past that can get them to places that the Republic can't go, and he's like holds that over their head. So they can't kill him because he has the pass. And if they kill him, they lose the pass. And they don't know where the pass are coming from. Whereas the Tempest runners, they control pretty much the fleet and the army and their whole military base type deal. But it's 3 of them. So they each have their own little equal share, and they all share in the loot. But it don't always work out that way.
Yeah. I mean, from what you've said, Lourna seems like she cares more about the people she works for than Ro does. Like, 'cause that seems to be what pisses her off the most, like, when she turns against him, because he just starts, like, disregarding their lives and, like, trying to take them out.
Yeah, because he pretty much, he's trying to restructure it, because his father, that's one thing that I would have had to do the other book. His father was in control of this whole little Nihil gang, but he wound up getting killed by one of them. And he kind of wants to get revenge, but he doesn't really like his dad either, and his dad still kind of talks to him in his head, telling him that he can't do it, this is why you're weak. He wants to restructure it so that it is like a nation's force. Like, he's the leader, and they're his military, and he wants to go after the Republic. Like, he doesn't want to be just a little looting gang anymore. He wants to kill Lena So and take down the Republic.
So you kind of use them as, like, cannon fodder-ish. He sounds like...
Yeah.
Sounds like it's like a familiar kind of thing, where they look out for each other and they have each other's back.
Yep, it's like the Tempest are trying to keep their way of life the way it is, but they've got the Republic coming in trying to take them out, and then they've got Ro in the inside trying to change them into what he wants them to be.
That's
And so the Nihil are like, yeah, they're bad guys,
yeah, like
but they're
Lourna,
also kind of stuck in a hard place.
yeah, like she almost sounds like they want to turn her, like I can't predict it, but like an anti-hero, because it's not like she's with the Empire, but she's not with the Jedi. Like she's obviously not on the good guy side, but she's not necessarily on like the bad guy side. She's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing.
Yeah, they're kind of like pretty much what the Nihil are is they are pirates. They're all pretty bad. They all do bad things. But at one point, she kind of tries at one point when they capture her. And I haven't read a whole lot into this. I'm just starting to get into this part, so I don't know all the details. But she gets captured. I don't know how. But they try to rehabilitate her, and she kind of seems like she tries at some point, and she kind of gets feelings for her rehabilitator. But it just, things keep popping up, like, it's like a situation where she doesn't want people to tell her what to do. She wants to do things on her own, and she doesn't want to feel like the person she's with is making her change how she wants to be. Like, I'm this way, I want to be, don't make me what I don't want to be. Well, her counselor kind of keeps pushing her to, you can be better than this, you're better than this. And at one point, she can't take it no more, and she's like, this is what I am, it's who I am. I cannot change. I'm a pirate. I'm a Nihil. I can't be anything else. And then it's just, it kind of seems like it kind of breaks her heart. I'm not entirely sure because I only read a little bit of it, but it definitely hurts the other guy who is really trying to change her. And I mean, they part on good terms, I believe. I'm not exactly sure, but she winds up leaving it and going back to the Nihil, and I think that's at the point where she winds up starting a plot to take Ro down so that she can take control of the Nihil, but I don't know exactly where that all went. But
yeah, because you're still like knee-deep in the Rohill arc, like he's still a problem.
Yeah. But to get back to her story on this one, on the Rising Storm, there's such good fight scenes with her. She fights with one of the good ones is this first one. It's Orbelin, which is he's an archivist, Jedi Master I believe he's on the Council.
Yeah, this will be spoilers for the book if you guys want to read it. So
yeah, all of this is it's so good.
This is
The Rising Storm.
Territory. This podcast, I'll put like a picture of the book so that they can see the book and be like, this is what the book looks like.
Oberlin, he's an archivist, Master Jedi, but also you'd have to know a little more about his species. He is like a green gelatinous mucus type species.
So gross.
And, yeah, it's pretty gross. And the only way he stands up and he walks like a human,
like a gelatinous cube kind of thing from like D&D.
Well, he's more of just liquid, kind of like he's a mucusy blob. Like he can make any form, but he has the Jedi made this like suit, or I don't know if it's a Jedi. It might have been engineers working with the Jedi. They made this environmental containment like suit that helps him hold his form as like a human form, and it also helps him to communicate because he can't communicate normally. So it helps him to do that without having to manipulate himself, because he could at one point his suit gets broken, which I'll tell you more about that, and he oozes out of it because he can't. The suit's not working anymore, and he can't communicate with the woman that he's trying to help repair this communication station. And so he morphs himself into this like snakish slug like worm thing, and then comes complete with vocal cords. The woman like is describing this has vocal cords in the back of its mouth, and then he starts to burble out in basic what he needs her to do. So yeah, he's not your
that's gotta be so complicated to like form that.
Yeah, he's not your average Jedi master. So Lourna Dee burst into the Starlight Pavilion, which on this world they're having like a fair. A little bit more background. I'm giving y'all so much background that I might get to Lourna Dee. But they're at this huge Republic fair that it's just celebrations and platforms everywhere from different worlds and stuff, like each huge floating platform, almost like Desmond's kind of floating platform thing. Maybe not quite that big, but probably.
Like the one, my references are so bad. Like the ones they use above like the Snarlack Pit, like that thing? Like those floating platform things? Kind of
like that, but that's like a barge. That's like a pleasure barge. But yeah, kind of like that, but a lot bigger than that. Like, It's an amusement park on a big platform. But they're amusement parks dedicated to different worlds, and each one has like different plants and animals and stuff from those worlds. And
so they're like floating terrariums, sort of?
Yeah, like their own little terrarium. Like you could go to Alderaan and be at an Alderaan garden and
that would be so neat.
Their food, and each one had their own customized shuttles. This was a cool little thing that I thought they did for the park. They had their own little customized shuttles that would fly to each one of these. They were dedicated to planets, and each one of the shuttles were styled in that planet's type of ships that they would make and stuff. And then those little shuttles also had toys that looked just like them that you could buy at all the gift shops around the park. So you could have your own little souvenirs for your own planet.
This sounds like the most kick-ass Star Wars theme park, because it would be so cool to like I want to see like what like the fauna on like my planets are limited, but like Naboo, that's like the swamp planet. Like that would be, like they would be so cool to see like just the different like fauna from all these different planets, because Star Wars has so many different species and planets, and they're all like, so fleshed out.
Yeah, that is something I really would like to look up, is that they had like pictures to show you some of those. I couldn't find too many pictures to actually show you like what the actual platforms and all look like. But they do really good describing it in the book, so you can kind of get an idea of the size and all, because they're pretty massive. Like, I told her a little bit about this before we started recording, but Elzar Mann, who I was telling you about, who he kind of dips into the dark side. You get a little bit of a picture of how big one of these platforms are when there's a platform that's dipping and the people have already pretty much fallen off of it and it's going down. Like there's no stopping it. But then there's the cruiser that's coming in, a Nihil cruiser that's chasing what they call, instead of being like a squadron of fighters, they call it a drift of vectors. And it's Jedi, and there was 4 of them. Indira Stokes, Porter Angle, Mikkel, and Boryaga. Pretty good. I can remember all 4 of those. All 4 of them
better
were
than
flying.
me. I'm just like, I'm not.
All 4 of those were flying, and they had just saved a bunch of people that were falling from the platform. Probably that platform. I'm not sure. They don't exactly say. But
yeah, it's so chaotic.
They grabbed them while they were falling onto these vectors that are moving at really fast speeds. But they only did it by all of them connecting to the Force and working together. And then they had to hold them on, so they couldn't really maneuver and get away from the cruiser. So then Elzar Mann he loses his shit. Like, he gets so emotional and decides, he goes through pretty much everything that he's angry about. Why this happened? Why that happened? Why didn't Avar Kriss push me away during this dance? Why did Stellan not tell me that Avar wasn't
before his eyes, but it's all the shit that pisses him off.
Yeah, he's just going through everything that made him mad, and then he just burst out that, like, the Nihil are not going to win today, and he just grabs the platform with the Force and just hurls it like a discus at the cruiser, splitting the cruiser pretty much in half and killing everyone on board, which is something that a Jedi should never do in their eyes. You shouldn't just take a life to take a life. Yeah, and he just took a whole
Jedis, because you were saying, like, these guys will, like, kill themselves to give people second chances, so they probably were not happy with that.
Yeah, they pretty much... Matter of fact, perfect example. The same 4 that were flying, they were rescued by Elzar Mann with that throwing the platform. Well, one of those, Mikkel, he winds up dying because one of the 4 people they had rescued was a Nihil who was falling from the platform, who had crashed on it, unluckily. Mm-hmm. And he was falling too, and they were like, all life is sacred. They can't just let him die because, oh, you're a Nihil. Because he might have some light in his heart that if they rescue him, he might decide to give up his ways. So they have to rescue him. So they rescue him too, but after they get rescued themselves, the Jedi, they go to fly to bring them all down, and this guy has a powered glove on one hand, and he decides that, no, this Jedi isn't going to make it. And he slams the powered glove through the hull of this little fighter, the thin fighter, and the electricity and all from it just helps him even more to punch through it, and he hits the controls underneath. So Mikkel can't control the ship anymore, and he just spirals out of control and goes down, almost taking the other survivors with him because he was one of the essential ones that was keeping the connection together, so the other ones had to struggle to hold them on.
Yeah.
Plus, Angle, he didn't have a ship. He was standing on Indira Stokes' ship, and he almost tumbled off when it happened. But that little bit of extra background. Now, back to Lourna Dee. While all of this insanity is ensuing, and the whole park is pretty much being destroyed, he's in the Starlight Pavilion part with Lourna Dee, and they are... What did they start off fighting? I think she has an... I'm not sure what she had at first. She pretty much had an Nihil weapon, which was probably like a vibro axe or a plasmol or something like that. But she came in on with that at first.
Insane.
Yeah, and he winds up cutting that up, and then she pulls out these sickles, and she starts going on with these sickles, and he cuts those up, and he winds up then. Or she decides to go grab one of his antiques from the wall, and out of luck or knowledge, or Boleyn thinks to himself, she grabs up. That's so hard to exactly say how. I believe it's pronounced plick, but I'm probably not saying it right. Or it's flick.
Those languages are like hard.
Yeah, but it's a metal. That's almost like, pretty much like Mandalorian steel. It's impervious to lightsabers.
Oh.
So he's beating on it and beating on it and beating on it, and there's just nicks on it. He can't get through it. And she begins to start beating him down, and then he's not beating him down, but like she's beating on the lightsaber and he can't do anything. But he's parrying it perfectly, and he's doing fine. He can keep up with her. But
so I guess it's like a sword or something, like she's parrying with it and stuff.
Well, no, she's got a staff. She's got a big long staff. I forgot, I probably didn't say that, but yeah, she's got a long staff, and he's just like, she'll swing, and he gets it with the lightsaber and swats it away, or uses her momentum to keep her swinging it.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. But then the woman he's supposed to be helping this whole time to get to an antique communication device that the Jedi have on display. She runs into I believe it's a lamprey or lamproid, but it's like a scorpion kind of thing. He's got like a poisonous tail and like clippers, I think, for like hands or something.
Oh, that's pleasant.
It's hard to get it from the description. I haven't looked up a picture of this one, but it's kind of like a newer species. But she can't get past this guy. So she's hiding, and he has to do something, like he's forced into action, but he can't get past her staff. So he
Yeah.
kind of slips up, and Lourna turns the momentum game on him. She gets the point of her staff near his hilt, either by sliding down the blade, I think it was, or something like that, but she gets it near the hilt, and then uses his momentum to spin the blade out of his hand, and it goes flying away. And now he's even more desperate to get to the girl because now he has no weapon and he has to do something.
Yeah.
But in that very instant, Lourna Dee kind of helps him by smacking his helmet and cracking it open, breaking the containment. And he falls down on his back, which I think he did pretty much strategically.
Oh, yeah, because this is the slime guy, right?
Yeah, it's the slime guy. So when he got hit in the head, it's not really going to hurt him. So she broke it open. He falls back, and then she's like, oh, victory. Lets out her little war cry and goes to slam the end of the staff down onto his skull, where his skull should be, in the helmet. Smashes the helmet, but then goes to lift the staff, and it will not budge. It's like it just hit cement that instantly dried. It's not going nowhere. And then all of a sudden, a freight train just hits her from underneath, shooting her into the sky. He lets out just a force wave tsunami that throws her through the ceiling.
Yeah, through the ceiling. Crazy.
Yeah. This glass ceiling of this big atrium, and he describes it as he doesn't hear the Twi'lek hit the pavement outside or hit anything. You don't know if it's outside. It could be the top of the building, but it winds up being on the avenue. I think he says on the avenue outside. He feels through the force, her bones and all crunch when she hits the avenue outside. And this is why I love her. She is so damn tough that he thinks she's done. She is not.
Yeah, he's like, even if she's alive, she's not getting back up.
She gets up, grunts, dusts herself off,
hold my
and
beer.
then get back in. Yeah, hold my beer. I'm getting back into the fight. Where is the next Jedi?
I remember you were like, she had a dislocated shoulder and she just shoves it back into place, and she's got broken ribs, and she's like, I'm not done yet.
She pulled like a lethal weapon thing and just goes over to a wall and slams her shoulder back into place. But yeah, she's got broken ribs, fractured leg, I believe, and who knows what else. But the Nihil, I don't know if I said this earlier, the Nihil have this thing when they go into war.
I don't think we've talked about the thing.
They have a bandolier just full of stems and drugs to keep them going, and it's just got a tube, I forget what they call it, what is it? A shunt. Yeah, they got a shunt into their vein to just keep it pumping in while they're fighting.
Oh, yeah.
So they are just taking crazy hits, and they keep going. Like the Jedi will lop off their arms.
Yeah, it's like the dude on like PCP in like real life where you can't put them down.
Yeah, it's like super PCP on just raging. But she doesn't have that at the moment. Like she probably took some of them beforehand, but she doesn't have the bandolier at the moment. And she jumps up and she starts running off into this war cloud, which is, I'll describe that in a second. But she goes running off into the cloud. I want to get to this other fight. And she spots a group of big old brutes off in the distance. And she don't know exactly who it is, but she goes running towards them and then realizes it's Nihil. So it's her people. But one of the bigger brutes, I forget what they call them, but I think it's like a rhino thing from the sound of it or something almost. It's a big old guy. But he decides, he's got a flamethrower. He decides for whatever reason, she might not be a Nihil or something because she don't have her mask on, maybe, and turns the flamethrower on her.
Jesus.
Broken bones and all. She jumps, just vaults over this flame of the flamethrower, and heel kicks this sucker in the jaw. Not dislocating his jaw, but I mean fracturing it to the point to where his jaw is like hanging off limply. And the guy is out on the ground. Big old guy.
Jesus.
Just unconscious. And she walks over. The other two brutes that were with him decide, nah, not gonna mess with her. either because they recognized her brutal ways as Lourna Dee, or they may have recognized, I guess, her how would you describe her profile, I guess, because most of them never see their commanders' faces. They always have masks on and these respirators because of the cloud. But they decide they're gonna go along with her, and she pretty much tells them to come with her, and she takes the bandolier of drugs all for the guy that got knocked down, sticks a bunch of them in herself, and then sticks some in his bag to get him up, and he comes to, and then she's like, I need him with me in the fight, and then they go pelting off after their next victim, and on the way, I believe it's on the way, I'm trying to remember the story exactly as it went, but she went running off, I'm pretty sure just to find someone else or to get out of there, but then they eventually spot the Chancellor, Lena So, and she decides, that's my target, that's who they were riled up about having to kill. This is the whole reason they're there, is to destroy the Republic, kill the Chancellor. So she grabs the big guy's plasmol, and I remember this weapon. Definitely she had a plasmol on this one. She grabs a plasmol from him, and she goes pelted off towards him. But Stellan Geos is there waiting for him, and he's already pretty beat up. Because he's done been in a fight with a Trandoshan who was all drugged up. And he chopped that guy's arm off and beat him up quite a bit, and the dude just kept on coming to the point where he had...
Transdoshans, they're already so tough.
Okay.
So one on PCP is like a nightmare.
Yeah, they're about as tough as Wookiees. They hunt Wookiees for sport. Which is why, Trandoshans and Wookiees hate one another. But that's a story for another time. but oh shoot, now I forgot where it was. But yeah.
That he fought the Transdoshan, and she's like coming at him to get the Chancellor with the plasma.
Yeah, he's just all beat up. Like his nose is busted, and there's blood all down the front of him from the Trandoshan hitting him in the face. And she's coming at him. She goes to swing her maul, and he puts up both his blades, because at this point he had to pull out his master's blade to save his life from the Trandoshan. So he's got two lightsabers crossed in front of him, and she comes down with the plasmol hard after jumping through the air. Once again, with broken ribs and all. And she slams this sucker
She's
to the point
such a good vertical leap
down on one knee. Yeah. It puts Stellan Geos down on one knee, and he like falls forward because he's kind of like overextended, trying to compensate for the power that she put in this downward swing.
Yeah.
And when he goes forward, she decides to flip the bottom of the maul up, the pummel, the end of the handle, and catches him in the jaw. And then, sends him back with stars on his back. But then at that moment, he has two Targons with him that are the Chancellor's guardian pets, these big old lions. These suckers, I need to find a picture in here real quick. Oh wait, I do have a picture right here. These Targons, okay, these things they look like lions, but they have got some massive fangs, and it looks like one of them has 3 eyes. No, 4 eyes. They have more than 2 eyes, okay? They got 2 eyes, and then 2 more eyes on top of those.
They have eyes in the back of their heads.
Yeah.
The way you describe them reminds me of like a saber-toothed tiger, like the big old fangs and they're huge.
That's a perfect example. That's about what this one has such big teeth. It's almost like a saber-toothed tiger on steroids. Because they're laying down, and the top of their head where their mane is at Lourna So's chest, and they're laying down. So now he's knocked down, and Lourna Dee is about to finish him off, but these 2 Targons come running at them. So it gives her a moment's pause, and luckily they didn't go at her. They ran past her to get the other 2 brutes, and one jumps a human who decides, for whatever reason, I guess because of the drugs, He's going to punch the fucker. Punch it in the mouth. It did not work out for him.
To be fair, I think
around the head.
I think that might have been like a fear response on his part, because he's like, this giant tiger's coming at me. I can't outrun this. I guess I'm going down swinging.
There's nothing else I can do. But he winds up getting the jaws of this thing around his head, and he's done.
No
then the other one, which, I remember what the other one was now. It was a human, and the other one was a Weequay, which they are pretty tough. And it's a female Weequay. But she doesn't even really get a chance. I think she tried to go at Stellan or something and kind of tripped up Venestra. Not Venestra, I'm getting my names mixed up. Lourna Dee. Kind of tripped up Lourna Dee. So she wound up getting the other Targon's claws in her back and got thrown down to the ground. And then Stellan just hears like a cry and then silence. And he's like, well, that's one more enemy down.
Yeah.
And then Lourna decides she gets back her wits or whatever, and she's like further from Stellan somehow. I'm not sure exactly how that happened, but she's further away, and she goes to run in to take him out. But one of the Targons tries to jump and take her out, and she turns like just in the nick of time and spins the maul around and catches it in the side of the head, and you just hear a crunch. And then it's down, knocked out. It's not dead, but then the sister of it comes to the brother Targon's aid, and she tries to jump at Lourna Dee too. Well, Lourna decides, she can't take him out.
Yeah.
So then she jumps on its back to jump off of its back over it towards Stellan to get past them and get to him. She starts running towards him. He is pretty much defenseless, and she winds up knocking him down again.
Jeez.
And then just keeps pelting on past to get to the Chancellor, who's in a walker. I don't have pictures of it, but it's probably not the big walkers you would think of, like the AT-ATs.
Yeah.
I imagine it's closer to the walkers of the Clone Wars, the six-legged ones, but maybe not. It's really tall because they had to use a big staircase to get up to it. They couldn't climb to it. A couple of them were like, there's no way they can climb up it. So it's tall.
Yeah, I'll have to look up visual aids and throw them in here so they can see
what
exactly it looks like.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's a four-legged one. And
when you say walker, I automatically think, AT-AT, because that's like the...
Yeah, they're really massive. This one's a little bit smaller. It almost seems like it's a platform kind of deal. Mm-hmm. To where they can see, because there's a lot of parts where they look over the platform and they're yelling down to the other ones like, we're safe, we got her, we got this one. And one of them, Lena Soul, at one point, she topples over it and they have to reach over and grab her. And she winds up driving it. She's the only one that can drive this prototype, the Chancellor. But, she's running to it, and then she pulls out this, little gun that has like the tow cable kind of deal, and shoots it up onto the walker and starts zip line. That's what I'm looking for. She has a zip line cable.
Zip line? I was imagining like a grappling gun or something.
Yeah. I couldn't think of the exact word for it to describe it, but it's almost like the one Luke Skywalker, pretty much, I imagine, used when he hooked underneath the AT-AT and zipped up. And cut the panel open. That kind of gun is what I imagine she used, just a lot older, more ancient. But
like the prototype version.
And she starts to zip up, and the two cats are back chasing after her, and Stellan can barely get up off the ground. He's like crawling, going, I gotta stop her. But then he sees the cats, and he's like, oh, the Targons will get her before she gets there. But the cable starts to zip her up, and the Targons jump to get her and miss. And then he's like, no, that's it. The Chancellor is going to be attacked.
Yeah.
But in that moment, that she's still just beginning to go up, Elzar Mann slams down, you don't know who it is. He hears boots slam down next to him, and he thinks, oh, another Nihil to finish me off. But instead, Elzar Mann rolls him over and it's like, "Are you okay?" And Stellan, just in a hoarse voice, is just like, "The Chancellor, save the Chancellor, get the Twi'lek, stop her." So then he just starts running, but as he starts running, he just reaches back and hauls off and throws his lightsaber like a pinwheel at the cable, cutting the cable and dropping Lourna Dee back to the ground, which I can only imagine that she's gotten pretty high. She has a broken leg.
Yeah, and she's already got a broken leg.
Some messed up ribs.
She's already got a broken leg, broken ribs, so she's gonna add some more bones to that.
Yeah, something else is gonna break. And this badass woman gets up and decides, she can't continue to fight. And, well, I think she's pretty much just thinking that, and she's about to run.
Broken bones today.
Yeah, but then the ultimate, just screw you happens. She's at the point to where she can't get the Chancellor, and she's gonna have to run or do something extreme. Elzar Mann is pelted towards her, and he is a fresh Jedi Master who has proven that he can destroy just about anything if you piss him off enough.
And he's proven that he'll do it. Like, he will kill them. Like, the rest of them are kind of holding back, but he's not gonna.
Yeah, he's one that will break the rules to solve a problem. That's his main thing. That's his backstory is he's not one of the more traditional Jedi Masters. He does things that he probably shouldn't do.
He reminds me of the Grey Jedi that you mentioned once before.
Yeah.
Like the ones that use both sides of the Force to keep the balance.
Well, kinda. Like, he pushes the boundary towards the dark, but he refuses to touch it. Until that point. Then he touches it. But then, after that, he's constantly, he's trying to find a way to make amends for it. Like, he pushes the limits of the light side. He tries to find alternate ways that other Jedis would never think to do. And so, yeah, it gets him into a little bit of trouble. Because
he's one of those, the mini over the few.
But, the mini over the few kind of thing. But he does, the ultimate no-no, kind of like Anakin and all of them. He dares to have a relationship, and it was on that planet. Yeah, the park. What you would call her? The one that she put the whole thing together.
Oh, so kind of like the person who built it, sort of. She's like the Walt Disney of this park, sort of.
But yeah, she's like the Walt Disney guy of the whole park. Like, she scheduled everything. She hired the crews and all of that kind of stuff and put all the scheduling and stuff together.
Yeah.
He winds up having a relationship with her. They start getting cozy, and then they wind up sleeping together. The night that it all kind of, goes down. Like, he wakes up in her bed and is all regretful, like, what did I do? What did I do? And then not long after that, bam, everything happens. And he doesn't even... Which, oh my god, I'm not going to get into that, because that's Elzar Mann's thing. But yeah, there's a whole other thing with him that is a little bit disturbing to me. But to go back to Lourna Dee, this is badass, is deciding what she's probably going to do. The book don't really describe what she's deciding, but I mean, she can't get to the Chancellor. And Elzar Mann's coming for her. And in that moment, Pan Ada, who is way up in the atmosphere, decides we're done. They've got other ships that are starting to show, or I believe at this point ships are starting to show, but he's moving on to the next phase of their plan, which they were supposed to just destroy stuff on the ground and loot and everything. And then when the ground battle was over with, he was supposed to notify Lourna Dee to pull her Tempest back. And then as a last little indignation, they would carpet bomb the whole area. Pretty much as far as they knew, the planet, the populated part of the planet. But he said, the whole planet. Well, one of the first bombs, you'll figure, landed between Lourna Dee and Elzar Mann and the Walker. So the Walker took damage, Elzar, man, I'm pretty sure got hurt. I have 50 pages left to this book. I'm
Lourna
pretty sure
Dee
she wound up getting
obviously
hurt.
is fine because she's made out of
Yeah, she's fine. But
she's made
she
out of
is hurt
Mandalorian
too.
apparently at this point.
Yeah, she is just like indestructible somehow. But
She's
she
like, this
winds
shit
up.
just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, and then when she survives, she I don't think I told you about this part. She gets away from there, and she finds Lamprint, which I think is the one. It might not be the same one, but it's a same Lamprint later on that shows up in another part. But anyway, she finds him, and he's like a lieutenant that she kind of wants to promote and all. But she gets him to show her his ship, and then they take the ship out of there. And she gets back to their base where Pan Ada is starting stuff up again with old Ro, saying that it was his victory, not Ro's. That it was the storms, not the eye, and he shouldn't take credit and stuff like this. Well, after he had his little hissy fit, he feels somebody's presence is like watching him or something, like eyes are on him, and he looks around the room, and in the shadows is Lourna Dee, kind of hunched over and like looking not too happy with him.
She's murder in her eyes.
Yeah, and he decides to go, "Hey, Lorna," and she winds up talking to him a little bit, and they go back and forth like, "You shouldn't have did that," and she's one of them ones that like she's pissed with him, and she kind of subtly let him know, but she she's not letting him know just how pissed.
Yeah.
Like
she's
I'm mad with you.
He thinks she's like annoyed, but she is like in full rage mode.
Yeah, she's in like, I'm plotting your death. Just you
and
wait.
And the death of all of your friends.
Yeah.
That's how angry she is.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what she does. They kind of, he has his little thing with Ro there, and Ro has to keep putting him in his place. Well, this time, he puts him in his place. Like, Ro gets annoyed with him enough, he decides he's going to pull not his lightsaber. I didn't tell you about this, but it's Loden Greystorm's lightsaber, a Jedi they captured, and he's still alive, but he has his lightsaber. He pulls it on Pan Ada and points it at his chin, and Pan Ada in that moment is like, big mistake. And he grabs Ro's arm to pretty much rip his arm off. But in that moment, Ro, quick as lightning, just other arm wraps around behind his neck, and Pan Ada hears a click, hiss, and then he just starts choking and can't breathe, and his eyes are swelling up, and he falls to the floor. He had a gauntlet on his wrist that had syringes, and he just pumped
something.
I forget how he said it. It was all of the worst poisons from his culture. Yeah, just all the bad stuff. And he just pumped it into Pan Ada because he is such a big dude.
No, we didn't.
And
he
say goes this. Down. He's not dead. But then Ro is just so pissed with him, and he's like, the Nihil are going to be great, and I'm going to take them to do great things, kind of like telling, like, lording it over him. And then he walks over and stands over and is like, but you, and for every word after that is a punch to the face, you will never see it.
And clearly he is upset.
Yeah, clearly he's done with him. And he walks out the room and leaves the two other lieutenants, which they've changed, by the way, now. Kosov, who was sacrificed, he's gone. The new third Tempest is Zetar, who is a little bitty guy. Like, might be a foot tall. It's a little small species, but he's a really good engineer. And he's built this big battle suit that he's in. And those two are watching this, and they're just standing there. And Ro walks out, and Lourna Dee decides she's got to, keep him alive for whatever reason, or this is just part of her little plot, which it pretty much is. She decides that she's gonna pull a little syringe thing of her own that's like I believe it's called Cypionid, but it's something that's extracted from the male species back on her home planet, and she injects it into him, and it's like a general antitoxin, because afterwards he's like, how did you know he was gonna do that? Was y'all involved? How'd you know to have that antitoxin? And she's just like, it's a general antitoxin. You were just lucky that, she always carries that on her. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, you could believe it with how much of a backstabber she is. If you get poisoned, you want that. But she gives it to him, and then kind of like in her own head is like, yeah, I've rescued you, but this antitoxin that she's given him doesn't cure him. It just slows the effect of the poison. So instead of him dying quickly like it should have done, he's now going to slowly die, agonizing over a long period of time. And that's pretty much what happened. She wanted, they wanted killing him, but he doesn't die in the poison.
This part of the story is the part where I'm like, okay, she is officially like a super badass, because not only is she tough, but she's smart.
Yeah,
because she gives him the antidote, and so he thinks she's on his side, and he starts dying, and this guy clearly can't put two and two together, so doesn't realize that it's her that's got him dying now.
Yeah.
She purposely didn't actually cure him. He thinks she's on his side.
Yeah, and now he has a partner to take out Ro, because right after that, they start to kind of talking, and he gives her, she gives him a kiss on the lips. And he's like, it was cold. She didn't really care, but still, they became a lot friendlier after that. They decided to go on a mission without Ro. She gets to talking to him, right after she kissed him, and she's like, Pan, I've seen the Republic on the ground when we were fighting. I've seen the Jedi. They're scared. They're afraid of us. Now is our time. Now is the Tempest's time. Ro he's not ambitious enough. We need to go for the Republic while they're weak now. And she comes up with this little plan that they can find a weak spot, either Sakorian shipyards or Hetzal Prime, their ultimate victory. The Jedi's little ultimate victory over them in the very beginning, where they saved it. Mm-hmm. And she gets him to start listening. They start listening in on the Republic stuff, and the Jedi are talking back and forth they know, they can tell that the Nihil are going to come for one of those two places, and they're just like, where should we move our resources? Because they got limited amount of Jedi, because half of them are fighting the Drangir on another part of the galaxy, which is this plant race that is a whole other thing. That'll be a whole probably video on itself. But Avar Kriss is doing that, which is why she couldn't show up. That made Elzar mad too. But oh shoot, now I forgot where it was.
You were talking about basically when she's talking him up and trying to get him to attack one of those places, the Jedi's. They're listening to their comms, and the Jedi's trying to pick a place to move their resources.
They're trying to figure out, where to move their limited Jedi that they've got. And then they decide that Hetzal Prime is probably already safe enough, and they put other resources there. And then they're like, well, we'll put our Jedi on the Cyclor. And that's where they decide, since it's just a limited amount, they're going to go for that and take Cyclor out. And Lourna Dee is like, there's your target. And he's just like, well, we'll take it out. And a little extra thing, Zetar, they decide that Pan's like, what do we do about Zetar? And she's just like, what about him? Or not, what about him? What is she? Oh, she goes, if we have any problems with him, we can just take him out. And she does the little finger across the throat thing. And Pan's like, what is it? Oh, no. She tells him that she'll take him out and like does the finger across the throat thing and is like, and I'll even let you lick the blade. Something like that. Makes a crazy little off comment about it. And he's just like, oh, you little tease. Just sucking him in closer to her. Like, oh, you're the one that's going to help me. Not Zetar. I can use Lourna Dee to help me take out Ro, kind of deal. And she just plays that part, sucks him in, and sends him on this mission. He goes out on the mission to go take out the Cycloriards. Only problem is when he gets there, it's not just the Jedi Vectors he has to deal with, or the Cyclorians. It's the Jedi, the Cyclorians, not just Jedi Vectors, which is what we're supposed to. Jedi long beams, Republic long beams. I think 3 or 4 other worlds or something that sent their own little fleets and stuff. They were vastly outnumbered, and then on top of it, Lourna Dee had concocted some kind of deal, I believe, to where he didn't take his whole Tempest. Most of his Tempest stayed behind, so he was really outnumbered. And he got beat up bad and wound up having to use an escape pod on his ship that ripped out the belly of his ship. So he was just out of the fight completely. And I believe from that point on, Pan Ada kind of disappears from the Nihil, I believe. I haven't read all of that. This little part that I'm starting to get into is a little bit fuzzier, because I listened to it on my audiobook, and it doesn't really sink in as well, and I've listened to it multiple times, but when I read it, it sinks in better, and I haven't quite
and
gotten
it's so hard for us to read, Legally Blind. We got to sit there and fix this a while.
It takes a bit of time. But
so this is all
I'm going to get the 50 pages done, probably by tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, so this is all, like, in that book that you're reading, all that, right?
Yeah, all of that is in this book, pretty much. So I've spoiled a good section of the middle and a good section of the end. All that with Lourna Dee.
Yeah, if you've got like 50 pages more, heck, you never know. Something crazy might happen at the end.
Oh yeah, something else is gonna happen to Dee, because she's gotta get caught at some point. Because in the next book that I read, she's caught. I don't know at what point she gets caught, but they wind up catching her. And I don't think they know who she is when she gets caught. I think something happened to where her ship is attacked and they're taking the ship. Oh, yeah, I'm remembering it now. She was on the bridge of her ship and they were about to break into it, but she came up with this plan to where when they broke into her bridge and they were going to take her out, one of them, I believe it was like a Republic soldier or something, he jumped the gun and shot her. And then they went to go check her and took off the mask. It wasn't a Twi'lek. It wasn't Lourna Dee. But I don't think they knew that. Like, they were pretty sure that was her because they never saw her face. So they didn't know. As far as they knew, when the Nihil first started attacking them, they thought the Nihil was an entirely different race, all on their own. They didn't know what they were until they started fighting them and knocking masks off and realizing, oh, that's a Trandoshan, that's a human. They're different, just different races with crazy masks on.
Yeah, they're all under the same banner, but they're not like all the same peoples.
Yeah. And a little bit on their mask too. The reason they wear the mask, this goes back to the cloud thing. Yeah, the cloud is like, it's like a blend that one of their crazy scientists came up with of gases that assault your eyes, pretty much all your senses, just about. Like it chokes your lungs and burns your lungs, and it burns your eyes. Especially at one point, one of them goes to wipe her eyes, and her eyes, she describes as just like on fire and burning. And the Jedi is like, don't smear it. And he puts his hands over her eyes and like clears them. and makes it better, but it's still, the stuff still kind of gets in your eyes. But
it's basically like to incapacitate people.
Yeah, everything they do is to try to incapacitate the Jedi mainly. It helps them with regular people too, because they try to create chaos and confusion. But with the Jedi, they try to assault all the Jedi's senses, so that way they can't center themselves and like concentrate to move something or to throw something or just to fight them. Or to even be able to sense, like if a Nihil comes running through the fog or something.
Yeah.
If their eyes are burning, and they also added at that battle, I forgot, was Zetar, the other Tempest, the little engineer. He added these little robot-like probe things that would fly around and blare wreck punk music the whole time. So they're constantly getting that.
So loud.
Yeah, they get that, the gas, just the constant chaos of people screaming, yelling, explosions everywhere. So the Jedi are like trying to struggle to keep themselves centered to keep fighting.
Yeah, because it sounds like a lot of these guys, they're hyped up on that stuff. They're trained to fight the Jedi, so like just a split second of just them being inattentive is death, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, their main thing is just to try to throw them off their game, and if they can get an opening, that's it. They take it.
Yeah, they take it.
I think I covered just about as much as.
Right,
Yeah, I think I covered just about the Lourna Dee.
Badass Lourna Dee.
Yeah, that's Lourna Dee as far as I have gotten so far.
Yeah, and maybe
more
like
to be added.
Yeah, like if you like read more and we have like more, we can like do another one and be like, this is what happens with Lourna Dee. You gotta see what this badass has done now.
Oh yeah, I will definitely. I'm pretty sure that Lourna Dee book is after this one, and I will definitely have to do another one on that one because that one is so good. I love that. That's another one. It's almost like Lost Stars because it kind of has a little bit of a romantic thing between her and her rehabilitator.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about that one.
It's not quite as heart-wrenching as the Lost one, where it's like, oh, they really love one another, and they come together, and they have this moment, and then they're torn apart by their situation, and they come together, and they have to kill one another, but they have to find a way not to, while also not betraying their oaths, like
their own causes and shit.
Yeah, like on that one, she was the type of person. She could have been almost like a Jedi. Like I think she was force sensitive. I'm pretty sure she was a little force sensitive, and her whole culture was about honor and oath. Like if you made an oath to defend, like the Imperial, if you made an oath to defend the Empire. She could not break that oath.
Yeah, you gotta go down with that ship.
Like, yeah, even though she hated, because towards the end she wanted to die so that she could leave the Empire. She saw it as her only way out, and even when, which was the worst part, even when, big spoiler, if you don't want this, big spoiler coming up.
Spoilers.
She wanted to die so badly that when they were about to take over her Star Destroyer, and she didn't know this, but her lover, who was the other guy that was now with the Rebels, he was in charge of helping to take over the Star Destroyer for the Rebels and take it for themselves. So he was in the ship trying to get to the bridge. She locked herself on the bridge and was going to crash it into the planet so no one could take it. And she told her whole crew to escape. They pretty much all went in escape pods. It was just her. And she could have went to an escape pod because all the bridges, they have their own little escape pod just for the commander to where he can get out. But she didn't want to do that. She saw her only way out is to die doing her duty. And then she would be released from her oath and she could, be at peace somewhat. But he showed up, and oh god, they started fighting on the bridge, and it was just
heart-wrenching, right?
yeah. It's just, let me die. No, I cannot let you die. If you go down, I am going down with you. I don't want to kill you. Get off of my bridge, kind of thing. Don't make me kill you by bringing you down with me. And eventually, it gets to the point to where the guy, she hits him pretty hard, but he's a big old dude.
Mm-hmm.
She hits him pretty hard, and he's like, I'm going to have to fight back. She's wanting to die. The only way I'm going to get her off is to hurt her. So then he hits her and pretty much knocks her unconscious, and then gets her off the ship, runs her to an escape pod, and they get out.
I remember what happens there, actually, because you told me about it, and I have, like, a ridiculously good memory. They're fighting, and he falls down and grabs a rifle. And he flips it to stun, hoping that it wasn't on stun already, and shot her, and then ran to stop the ship. The whole time thinking, please let me not have just killed the love of my life, because he doesn't know that he checks her after. And that was just like, oh my god, you
that was
don't know.
Good. I forgot about that part, but that was an added little thing. Like, he did it so quick, he wasn't sure, and he had to double check. Yeah. And then they finally get off, but then when they get off, and she's obviously distraught because she wanted to die, she still can't surrender. And she doesn't want to break her oath, so now she's in prison, and she's told him that she will not give up any information because it would break her oath. So, and they still can't be together because she's locked away and has to be put on trial, and she's like, they're going to kill me for what I did. There's no way. You know, kind of thinking like if it was the Empire, she'd be shot. But he finally starts describing it to her, and it's like, remember, I am part of the Republic now, and I've also got high friends in the Republic, and the Republic is different. They don't just kill people. They're all about second chances. And he's like, if you just give up anything to them, it will lessen your sentence. And he's like, and even then, a lot of the people that he knows that are like big pilots and all, they saw what she did for him. Like that she saved him once and what she did on the bridge and all of this. And he's like, they will speak up for you. But she's just like, you know me. I cannot break my oaths. So they're just like, what do we do? And they're putting their hands on the I guess what you call bars, but it's like a plasma field.
Yeah.
And they're just like, this is as far as we can, as close as we can get. And it's just like, another heartbreaking moment.
Yes, the next time we talk about books, we have to talk about that series, and it'll be full of spoilers because that series is just so good.
Yeah, that one is really good. I have to listen to that one again so I get every little detail. But, it's so good. So,
I guess we'll end this one. And then Lourna Dee, and the book was, you remember the name, right?
Oh, The Rising Storm.
The Rising Storm. Is that the first one in that series, or is it just like a standalone?
It is, I believe, the third one in the series.
Okay. We say it's this order, but the books interlock so much that, like, this is the sequence you're
it's hard to keep the
There are other
timeline.
books that happen between that book and that book, so...
Yeah, it's like, I'm just waiting. Like, they got 3 more books, which is so weird. The ones that I'm reading now, kind of like the old Star Wars movie with George Lucas. You have The Light of the Jedi, I think it's Into the Darkness, and then The Rising Storm. Well, and then Lourna Dee's, I believe. And that's the adult ones. But then they go back before The Light of the Jedi, and they've got, I think, 3 or 4 more books that are coming out that are pre all of the stuff that I'm reading with the Nihil. I'm guessing it's stuff to give you more of a background on, I'm just guessing, more of a background on Rose's whole origin, because you don't really get a whole lot about him, but you get little glimpses of his culture and all, because he goes to get this leveler thing that's supposed to be something that really goes after the Jedi, it messes them up. Like, when the leveler is near them, their senses just go batshit crazy. It's like they're on acid. The floor is just waving around and moving, and
oh my God.
Nothing makes sense to them. They don't know what's going on.
That's fun. Because you're still reading that one. So next time we'll probably talk about like the end of that book and probably get into like the Lost, the Romeo and Juliet one, which I forget the name. It's Lost, the Lost Stars, I think.
The Lost Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Romeo and Juliet one.
Yeah, that'll be the next one we have to talk about. So you guys want to read along? That one will be full of spoilers. You can pick up those books. And you can read along and have somebody to listen to us chit-chat about them.
What labels for like the book, and they can read the book, and they come back and watch other things. I'll get a little background, a little more background.
Heck yeah, I can put like
because I know some people they might just want to read, like they might want to read just the Rising Storm, but then they don't get some of the background, like for Vanestra and Lourna Dee, if they don't read some of the other books. So it's a good way to get a little more information on it.
And I can totally see people like me who are like, the Star Wars stuff is just so interesting, but there's so much of it that it's intimidating to get into. So this could be like a starting off point where like, this is the kind of stories you're looking at, because this story is like a badass chick, but like The Lost Stars is more of like a romance, but it's still action. So there's so many different genres within these stories. Like there's romance, there's action, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Obviously, it's like subterfuge, like they're all spies.
You get a little bit of everything.
Do you want to mention your YouTube channel? So this is a podcast. I'm gonna put it on the YouTube channel, but you could be like,
we can put it on the YouTube.
Yeah, if you guys want to see, listen to us, I guess watch us, because this is a podcast, so you listen. But if you want to watch us play games together and scream and be scared, you can check out the other playlists on the channel, where we play ghost games or kill zombies.
Yeah. I might even do so. I do have Star Wars games, so I mean, eventually, I do want to do some Star Wars games.
You should totally do the Lego Star Wars games.
Internet. Oh yeah, I do need to put something.
Those are like, I know we're in our 30s, but I don't care. The Lego games are just so good.
Yeah, they're too fun. You get to collect stuff and play with them,
right?
And you get to play with any character. There's not too many Star Wars games out there where you can play
the minor characters. It's not just like, oh look, Luke. It's like, no, look, here's Luke, Obi-Wan, and then this one Jedi that nobody remembers the name of.
I can even play Admiral Akbar or C-3PO. Play characters that most people will be like, who is this part of Star Wars?
Oh, is it the guy that says it's a trap?
Yeah, or even one guy that they might not. Well, no, some people might know. Like when Lando's going after the Death Star, the guy with the bunch of little jowls. I believe it's a Celeste. He's on there too. I think you can play as him. Yeah, and I can give you a whole backstory on him. He's actually a pretty big figure with Lando Calrissian. He goes off to run Lando Calrissian's spice mine in Kessel. I think you know a little bit more about a character that you probably thought was nobody.
Yeah, they all matter.
When you watch a Star Wars movie, all the characters, even some of the characters that are just like little glimpses, like the one where,
like the little cameos.
Yeah, like when Obi-Wan chops off the guy's arm at the bar with Luke. That's a whole book right there on that guy. That scientist and the dude that gets his arm chopped off. He winds up going on to try to well, actually, it's 2 books. He gets killed in one book where he's on a planet trying to hide and all, and then another one was with those kids in the little horror series kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he reanimated himself. He was like, that was I think the zombie one where he tried to keep reanimating people, but then they found out how he did it and stopped him.
That reminds me of like the animes where he's like, yeah, I'm a robot now. I took out my own brain and put it in this robot. And it's like, how? How did you do that? How did you reanimate yourself if you were already dead?
Yeah. I forget what exactly he did it, but yeah, that'll have to be one for an ed tab.
Heck yeah. Alright, y'all. So, like, subscribe, hit that bell, and join us next time.